on Rogers TV.
This is Rogers TV, North Durham, Kawartha.
Welcome to Uxbridge Scugog Life. I'm your host, Jackie Hermans. I don't know if you noticed this, but the Uxbridge Scugog area is full of creative people. We have authors and artists and musicians, and today is a very artsy show because we're going to have Tamara Williamson as well as Lisa Lamray, who are both local authors, and they have recently published books. And fantastic books. I am so excited for you to get to know them and also find out more about their creative process and advice that they have to offer budding authors. So all that and more on Uxbridge Scugog Life. Make sure you keep on watching and we will be right back.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
It'd be a tragedy if we were losing one person to drug overdose every day. 5, 7, or 12 people, that would be unimaginable. But in Canada, we lose 20 people to overdose every single day. That's a crisis. Donate to help CAMH face addiction head on.
Welcome. Join me on the Rogers TV Durham for learning yoga in just 10 classes. My name is Sri. I'm a yoga teacher at Yoga Point, and it's my privilege to spend the next few weeks with you.
Welcome back to Uxbridge Scugog Live. I am with local author Lisa Lamray, and we're talking about her newly published book. So exciting. And I want to make sure I'm saying I pronounce this properly too. So it's Feather of Mahat.
That's correct.
Feather of Mahat.
Right.
So first of all, the cover is stunning.
It is. That was done by the in-house graphic designer at the publisher.
Okay, it's beautiful. And something that is so exciting is that, and correct me if I have this wrong, so Amazon US has ranked it #1 as the best new release for classical historical fiction.
Yes, it has.
That's amazing. Okay,
Yeah.
Can you give our audience just a little summary about what the book's about?
This is about Queen Nefertiti. She has to present herself to the gods of the underworld and justify her life choices, and if she can't do it, she will face eternal damnation. And
a little bit of pressure.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And so in the course of the book, it alters between this afterlife that she's going through and her life. She's thinking back on her life, so it goes through all of the trials and tribulations that she faced in her lifetime.
That's beautiful. Okay, so how long have you been working on this book for?
Well, it depends on what you consider to be the start date. It's either 2 years or 30.
Wow. Yeah, that's a long. Okay, so if we were to go to the 30-year process, are you talking about your start date as the inspiration?
Yes, I actually started writing a related novel in a similar story, centered on Nefertiti's daughter, actually, in high school.
Wow. And
I did not know how to write a novel when I was 15, and I did not have the discipline to sit down and do it either. So, many years later, I always had this in my head, and I sat down and I decided that Nefertiti was the more interesting point of view. So that's, when I started it then, I had already done one. I'd already finished one manuscript, so I had a better idea of how to do it, and I was older and I had better discipline, and I finished it in about 2 years.
That's incredible. You know, it's a really interesting alignment with you starting your inspiration as a teen and from the daughter standpoint. And then you go through this learning journey and you get to a place of more wisdom. And would you say like you were also in a stage of looking back on your life and what you've learned during this process?
Probably, yes. I probably was. I think I was wrong in my assessment. I assumed the daughter was not as interesting because she would have been younger. Nefertiti lived in a time of cultural revolution, and the daughter wouldn't have been old enough to remember the start of it.
Okay.
So I thought Nefertiti was more interesting, although I later decided that the daughter was just as interesting.
So, okay. So hold that point for a second, because I understand you have not only written this book, but there is a sequel, and it will end up being a trilogy.
Yes.
Does her daughter come into play?
Yes. Her daughter is one of the protagonists. Her daughter was married to King Tut.
Okay.
So it is that couple that is featured in the sequel.
Oh, you know what? I just got goosebumps from that. That's very exciting. So your book is not only available Amazon US, or in Canada as well.
In Canada as well.
Okay, and then bookstores, any bookstore can order it now.
Yes, yes, they can.
How does that feel?
Really good.
Yeah. Yeah, that is amazing. And I hope this is the first of many interviews that you'll be doing to get the word out there about this historical fictional novel.
I hope so.
What would you say, with the completion of this book, what would you say is your most proud accomplishment? Because I know it's not only just it getting published, right? What else are you celebrating?
Well, I was very proud of finishing it after 30 years.
Yeah.
that felt like woohoo.
Yes, that's a huge finish line.
Until I figured, yes.
Ultra marathon finish line. Okay.
Until I decided there were 2 more books coming.
Okay, but that must have also given you additional excitement and inspiration, because the energy of the book keeps on going. When I think about, we have to wrap this up, but I just wanted to say, when I think about when you're in a play and then it ends, and you can go through a withdrawal, maybe even a depression.
Yeah.
But the energy is still rolling with it.
Right.
So,
it's the same. I've done a lot of community theater, so I know.
You understand what I'm talking about.
I understand that, and it is the same with the book. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the show. So people can get your book on Amazon, and it's called The Feather of Maat.
That's right.
Beautiful. Well,
Yep.
thank you.
They can order it from Blue Heron.
Okay, order it from Blue Heron. You heard it. Thank you so much. We'll be back with more on Uxbridge Scugog Life.
I'm Carolyn King, and I'm a member of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation and the creator of the Moccasin Identifier. Philip Cote, an artist in Toronto here, took and redrew real moccasins. We're starting over with the children. The idea is that they would research whose land their school is built on, near, or what treaty area they're in. And the educational kit that we have has all that information in there. And the children just, love it. My dream is that this province will be covered with moccasin identifiers within the next decade, and they will forever know whose land they're on. That's the goal. Educate and awareness with a nice, simple little program called the Moccasin Identifier.
Welcome back to Uxbridge Scugog Life. So I had Tamara Williamson, local author, artist, horse lover. And it is so great to have you on the show because you've just published a book called Mirror Horse.
Yes.
Now, you had said off camera that this is your third book, or not for publishing,
Yeah.
for writing?
Writing.
For writing.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just writing the third book.
Beautiful.
And I wrote another one that didn't get published that I've kind of got in the back room. Maybe one day it will get published.
Okay, okay. Well, I really want to talk about Mirror Horse. I think it's so it's about your experiences with horses, your love and passion for horses, but also the burden of responsibility in comparison to that passion and to the connections, the relationships that you've developed with horses. Mm-hmm. I love that. So not many people would know this unless they're associated with horses or maybe other animals, but they all have unique personalities. And so tell me a little bit about what horses have taught you, what you've learned from them about yourself.
Well, firstly, the way you just introduced that was excellent, because that's exactly what I kind of started to really think about as I was writing it. It sort of took me into this journey of all these different relationships I had with these horses and what they meant. And at the time, it's all hitting you on so many different levels that maybe you don't really think about what each creature had meant to you, you know, and why you handled things the way you did. And, you know, was it just simply that you were ambitious, or were you, you know, so what happened by the end of the book, I started to realize why I had written the book, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't start out knowing what this was going to be about. I sort of ended up going, oh, that's what this book is about.
What an amazing opportunity for self-reflection during this whole process.
Yeah.
I totally believe we learn so much about ourselves through our relationships, and it never even occurred to me about the relationships with animals, and that you can learn so much, just as much as you would, let's say, learn from your kids, or love relationships or business relationships.
Yeah.
Life is about relationships.
Yeah.
It's all part of our journey.
Yeah. And I think that horse people may be a little judged. You know, like if you're a horsey person, you've got money and you're just spoiled maybe. And, you know, that's like, not everyone, obviously, but so I wanted to write a book that also showed the expertise involved in this sport. And I liken it a bit to my favorite book ever, which was Into Thin Air, about climbing Mount Everest, which, you know, I'm never going to go climbing, but I loved learning about all of that world. And, like, you know, I found it fascinating. So I was trying to emanate that a little bit, where I thought, well, if I make this an interesting book with a lot of detail, that maybe that also will be sort of very interesting for non-horsey people
To understand the world of working with horses.
Yeah, I didn't write the book for horsey people. You know, I wrote it for just everyone. I hope, you know.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
So you have worked with horses for how many years?
I grew up in the pony club in England, so the book kind of starts there.
Okay.
Which is a scene.
Okay. Oh, I love it.
Yeah. It's really like a Thelwell cartoon. You know, we grew up with loads of mud and fat little ponies and always getting bucked off and going to rallies and events, and a lot of regimented, controlling sort of detail to our like expertise as kids, you know. And for me, in a very sort of crazy family that I came from, the pony club gave me a lot of structure, which was good for me.
Beautiful.
Yeah, because I didn't do very well at school. So the ponies allowed me to sort of excel at something. I did okay at pony club, so it made me feel, you know, that I wasn't completely useless.
Right, you have something to offer. There is something that you're good at.
Yeah.
And they've helped you, I'm sure, to also realize there's a lot of things that you are good at.
Yeah.
That maybe not within the societal structure of being graded in a certain way, right?
Yeah.
And so in your adulthood, how have you been working with horses? We only have 30 seconds, but just briefly, what has been your your business, your career with horses?
Well, I bought and sold horses, and I rode dressage for many years. So I trained, and I got up to pre-St. George, which is a pretty high level. So I had all these horses and experiences with different horses because I had my little farm, and I could buy and sell horses and make a little bit of money to pay for the horse I had in training.
Okay.
So I ended up with all these stories, and I thought, well, what was it for? I should write it down, and that's how the book,
beautiful,
came about.
Well, thank you. I'm very excited about your book. We didn't even have a chance to talk about how she has beautiful artwork that is right now for until November on display at the Second Wedge Brewery in Uxbridge. So you can check out her pieces of beautiful horses and people in your life too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can check that out, and we'll be back with more on Uxbridge Scugog Life.
For 25 years, you've been helping to make our roads safer by doing the right thing. You've been the designated driver, you've stayed over, called home, you've called a cab or a friend, and planned ahead. Let's keep doing the right thing. Support sober driving by getting yourself and your friends home safely.
Do the right thing.
Visit ArriveAlive.org to find out more. Arrive Alive. Drive sober.
Community ultimately is always the people you surround yourself with.
If I ever leave this area, I'm never going to forget these country river nights.
Allowing people from outside of the area and in the area experience farm life, experience art.
Wawena, take care. Chumigwach, thank you very much. Kwabin, see you later.
Welcome back to Uxbridge Scugog Life. So we have both Tamara Williamson and we have Lisa Lamray here, two local, I was going to say artists, but also art. You can say the art of writing are artists as well, but authors, local authors. And you both have your books with us. And I thought it would be wonderful to have you guys in this type of fireside chat, I guess, to give some maybe budding authors some advice, what you've learned during the process of putting these books together and getting them published. I guess the first question is, if you were to talk to your younger self, just starting the process of putting a book together, what would you tell yourself? Who wants to go first?
I'll go. I'd tell myself to ignore what everyone tells you is the right way to write a novel.
Oh, I love it.
Because none of that worked for me.
Okay. Okay, that's so. Can you give some examples of them?
Well, I'm a plotter. I have to have everything planned out from the beginning to end in order to write.
Okay.
Most novelists don't write that way. So when I heard other people talking about, or when I read how to write a novel, it was all these, write this scene here and write that scene there, whatever comes to your mind. And I'd write myself into a dead end over and over and over and end up with all this stuff I couldn't use. So it didn't work for me. And it took me 25 years to figure out how to write a novel because it was so hard to find.
Because you need to do it in your own creative process.
Yeah, you need to honor your own process.
Okay, I love that. What about you?
Well, I'm the opposite. So I thought you were meant to write kind of a map, but I don't. I just I found that when I started writing, all of a sudden I was just following something. It was like the book would almost take me on a journey, and I'm just like excitedly following it, and all these doors keep opening in front of me of the story as I'm going. So that's. So yeah, I would absolutely agree, though. It's a personal journey. I think everyone's going to write differently and in their own way, and that's probably why, every book you pick up is slightly different, and follow your own journey.
Would you say each of you learned a lot about yourself during the process of writing the book? Yeah?
Yeah.
Lisa, would you like to go first?
Well, I learned I didn't have a lot of discipline. I had to
Usually
develop,
creatives, right?
Yeah, I had to develop that because there's no substitute for the bum in the chair, and you've got to do a lot of it to get a novel out there.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's I don't write every day. I never have, but I've got to have a regular schedule, and I've got to sit down and do it whether I feel like it or not. And that's a tough thing to overcome when you're used to just...
See, to me that would be
Not-
tough, because if, let's say, I had it scheduled in every Monday at 1 o'clock, what if I'm not in a creative space Monday at 1 o'clock, right? I might need to change that. For me, I need to go with creative inspiration.
Yeah.
But for you,
It's
again,
hard.
it could be
It's
different.
hard to get a 300-page novel out if you're only
don't
going
have discipline.
if you don't sit down and do it, whether you feel like it or not.
Okay. What about you?
Well, again, discipline, but I find that once you sit down in the chair, usually you get sort of swept away. So, I think it depends on the book you're writing. I seem to be on my third right now. So each journey's a bit different. But I think the biggest thing for me is that I didn't get through high school. I was always told I wasn't very clever. And I failed. I showed my son my school report, and he laughed so loud because my average mark was like 13% at school. So for me to write a book, I kept going, I can't believe I'm writing a book. That was part of my process. And then it doesn't matter how it hits the page. Just hit the page with your story, and you're going to go back again and again and again to sort of mold it. But you need to sort of throw your idea at the book, so at the pages. So I learned a lot about that I'm not stupid, that I wrote a book that got published. So for me, it was like, we really are, I know it sounds like, but we really are capable of doing anything we want.
Yes.
We just have to sit down and make it happen.
And especially when it's coming from a place of passion.
Yeah.
And what a great story that is, too, because we all have our unique genius within us, but it needs to come out in our own unique way. Our genius doesn't necessarily come out in the way school is taught and the way we're marked.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe we have to wrap this up already. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience, your knowledge, and your inspiration.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more on Uxbridge Scugog Life.
Michaela is loving, caring, energetic. She's adventurous. She's fearless. The warmths have been there from the start with financial assistance with her first prosthetic.
It's very important for Michaela to have access to these different devices so that she's able to do everything that anybody else can do.
We can't thank people enough for donating to the key tag service.
Thank you!
On Rogers TV.
Are you ready for a scarily good episode of Cinema Themes? And producer John Green and I have you covered as we dismember Halloween and horror movies. Tune in if you dare.
Welcome back to Uxbridge Scugog Live. So at the end of the show, I'd like to share an inspirational message. Sometimes I pull cards, and we're going to pull cards today, or a card from my Akashic deck, and just see what energy will help us for the week, or what message will help us with the energy for the week. So the card that we have today is diversity. 5 of Scrolls. diversity. So the message that wants to come through for this is that we have learned a lot throughout our journey, and some skills that you have gained that maybe you haven't necessarily been truly applying in, let's say, the workplace or within relationships or things like that, are now going to be coming up, giving you an opportunity to apply that information from all the different areas. So the different experiences that you've had, the different learnings that you've had, the different skills that you've gained are now going to be coming and moving forward, so you're using them in a new way. And it's like you have unlocked doors of your creative, authentic self. So you are now more in alignment with you than you've ever been before. And so now, as you are opening up, you're using more of you in how you're moving forward within your journey, within the different areas. And you might even, some of you might even be inspired to maybe take a course, whether it's online or in person, gain a new guide or a coach in your life, and that could look in many ways. Like maybe you're paying for a business coach or a life coach, or going to see an energy healer or things like that. So you'll be gaining even some new skills, as well as all of this coming together in the forefront. So see how this diversity, also be open to the diversity in the people around you and what they can offer, some of the information that might be coming out that can help you along your journey. So be open to the messages that will come forward. And if you would like to book a one-on-one session with me, whether it's one-on-one yoga or an energy healing session with channeled messages, or I also have an adult improv class too, and Play With Me, which is helping a drop-in for families. So you can check out that. thejoyfulyogini.ca is that website. So thank you so much for joining me. We're gonna have much more next week. Always lots of new and exciting interviews on Uxbridge Scugog Live. So make sure you keep on watching. We will see you next week.
Call the Rogers TV viewer response line, email us, or connect with us on social media.
Hi, welcome to Cooking with Corey. I'm your host, Corey Dern, and with me is the fabulous Grant Peckford, Catherine Seaton, Ted Rowney, the lovely Lisa Lace, Nellie Peterson, Sasha Sudat, Jason Poulter. So what are we making? Have you ever looked at a recipe and thought, oh, I'm not quite sure how to do this, or not really understood the technique behind why you're doing it this way? And my show is the show for you. That is exactly what you were looking for. The best thing about this is you're actually treating the tofu as somebody who would treat a steak. Where's the salt and the tequila that goes with it? Wait, was that a different show? That's Drinking with Corey. You're yummy. Thank you so much for being on the show.
I love it. Thanks for teaching me how to cut.